Welcome to my Just Jenny podcast. With me today is Darcy Miller. She is the founder of Celebration Expert and Darcy Miller Designs. You can follow her everywhere at Darcy Miller. Darcy, first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Darcy, I want to start at the beginning, at sort of when you were a kid, all the way up until now, how you became this sort of party planning, celebration expert. You have that book, Celebration, which is fantastic. You worked with Martha for a gazillion years, but there's something in you that is extremely unique. I don't think people are really wired like you. And so I don't like, no matter what you do, everything you touch has this like element of joy or liveliness or color or happy celebration. It has some element of celebration, sort of regardless of what it is
Thank you.
that you're
Are
touching.
you looking for a new job to be my publicist?
I'm always up for a side hustle. So
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. No, but where did it start for you as a
Right.
small child?
Well,
Like,
I mean,
yeah.
I'll go back to where I started, but I have to say it's interesting you say that, which is it's, evolution. I kind of feel like, what I do today is kind of what I've done, like what makes me happy and what I've done my whole life. And I feel really lucky to have a career that's based on really like kind of my personal, like how I live and, what's important to me. And I grew up with, super creative parents. My mom is, has great style. And when I was a kid, she used to work on the costume shows at the Met with Diana Vreeland. So like after school, she'd be like, come on, they're working on the Saint Laurent show. And I'm like in the corner, doing my homework. And I think for me, I don't know if you know this, but my mother is also, her handwriting is amazing. And her handwriting is a lot of the calligraphy you see in the book. And then, so I'm like, she's in Florida. I'm like, Mom, I need you to write Happy New Year, scan it in.
I didn't
I'm
know
like,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
like,
so yeah, I just want the book is Celebrate Everything.
yeah,
First of all. So she helps you with, so she's done that. She's done that
right.
calligraphy for you.
Right. But more than the calligraphy, I think that kind of when I was brought up to kind of find, kind of to celebrate each other and celebrate, like when I think of like growing up in our birthdays, like I always remember, like we always made signs and made, like I remember making our birthday party invitations, and I would draw something, she would do the writing, and then my dad worked at the Empire State Building. We'd go to the printer and print them. And like we went to Denison's, which was this party store on 35th and 5th, and get some little kind of cakes, plastic cakes to tape on or like glue on. Like, so for me, it's very much about kind of the process and enjoying it and celebrating even as much as the part. Like when I think about my birthday parties, I remember doing this stuff with my mom and decorating. My birthday is in December, so we would put these little snow houses down and a paper tablecloth on the floor, and I just remember always loving to do that. And so I think that's very much still what I do today.
Right.
Right.
But there's even, I don't know, there's almost more to it than that because
Yes. Well, now I've,
yeah,
turned it into a business.
I mean, yes, you've turned it
No,
into
but like
yeah.
even, I think the struggle for people who are creative, and probably more so when we were getting jobs, because of the internet and LinkedIn and Instagram, and you are much more aware of what everyone's doing. But when you're a real creative, it's hard to figure out career wise, like what that looks like. And I mean, if you're a designer and you're a graphic designer, that, I'm not a graphic designer, but I know I love to, make things, and I love to kind of how do I use my creativity? And so I had a party favor business when I was at Chapin, which is a all girls school in New York City where I grew up. And I used to go to the bead store and make earrings and stuff and then sell them. There was a store on Madison Avenue called Stone Free for Kids. And I would, put them in little Ziploc bags and earrings and write a Darcy Miller original. So I always was kind of entrepreneurial with whatever creative things. A friend of mine, my friend Robin, when we were at Penn, we had a business one summer called Gifted by DNR. And we would meet you and say like, oh, do you need a gift for your sister? Do you need a gift for you have a baby shower? And we would make you something. So, and then I had, I made t-shirts for fraternity parties and, and I
You were
always,
all, but how did you even know? How did you have the skill set to even do any of that? Like how to go to make the t-shirt or to find the
you know,
beads and to
I
make
don't
the
know.
earrings,
Well, I think like I was already going to the bead store anyway, and I
right?
think
Because that was part of your
I was
love.
already,
Yes.
there was a
Yes.
great bead store in the 30s, down New York. It was called
M&J
Cheru.
trimming? M&J trimming?
No, M&J, no, it was
That was
called
rhinestones.
Cheru. Right.
Okay. Okay.
One by one, they're unfortunately not surviving. But and for me, what gives me joy is also to see my daughter Ella has when COVID first, kind of that spring vacation when COVID was first starting, we were she was like, oh my God, I need a project or something. And she started to tie dye and sell it to her friends on Instagram. And she said, I'm going to do this and, raise money for pediatric cancer, the Sunrise, Association. And then as, COVID, when kids went back to school, she just kept it up. And she now she just had her 3rd anniversary. And for me, thinking that she's using her creativity, her kind of passion, her being disciplined, that makes me, really happy.
Yeah, but it's creativity and discipline and also being organized. I feel like to do the things that you do.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm so organized.
Really? Because how every year do you remember to send the people on your list these
Right.
adorable Valentine's
Well,
Day
I
treats?
probably should get I
Yeah.
probably should get more sleep than I get, but
Mm.
it's also a priority to me. Like, and every year, as it's like this year maybe is your, you now have 3 kids, you have your business, maybe this
It's
is what you're
okay.
not
You
doing.
don't have to
I'm
do
like,
that. Yeah.
I'm like, how can I not do that? Like for me, it's, and this tradition for people who don't know, I have a tradition of sending Valentines to my friends. And it started when I did it for my daughter when we had a babysitter, and then it was like her teachers, and it spun into, for me, it's about kind of celebrating love and connecting and making people feel good. And, and it's not that it's so, it's about thoughtfulness. And I think for me, when people say, what do you do? What, you're a celebration expert? What does that mean? Are you a party planner? Like, I like to think that I help people bring joy to life. And so it could be in some little detail, like we have on our website this week that we're getting all these downloads, like a Passover Seder plate and an Easter basket. And then what I love is when people post and they're like, oh, my kids, look what we did. And it's on the table. Like for me, I'm helping people create the same memories that I grew up with, and not even the same, because like my whole thing, and I always say this in our content, our social, which is like, take whatever we do as a jumping off point, like get inspired. And like last year I saw someone took the Easter egg basket, which was it was during COVID. That's when we started. And it was meant to be, you could have an Easter egg hunt in your house and just make these paper ones, or you could, email them, or, and then the person like used them and put them on vases. And then they were like the centerpiece for the tulips. And like, that's what I love. I love when I see people like personalizing things, in their own way. And it's very much what I think, people say like, oh, what's the best party you've ever been to? It's not like best. It's like, they're all different. And that's not a cop out. Like,
Right.
it's that they're all so different, and that's.
But you have a specific stamp. Like I can see something and say like, oh, that looks like Darcy. Like Darcy Miller, whether it's the drawings, which are very specific, they're not exactly cartoon. I don't even know how to describe the illustrations. They're not stick figures, but they're also not like, they're not too they're elegant. They're elegant and sweet.
Right.
As opposed to like cutesy. Like I'd make like everything bubble letters and hearts because I'm a bubble letter
I
heart
like
type.
hearts too.
You do like hearts.
I have a lot of hearts and stars.
Yeah, hearts and stars. But there's something almost like I don't know if it's almost like there's like a comic book feel. There's something to the way your aesthetic shows itself in every bit of what you do.
Right. Well, I guess, I don't know, I guess the illustrations have like a whimsy, but like
Yes.
for me, I always like that little bit of elegance too. And like,
Yeah.
between, I feel like everything, like everyone in their career, and they're like, you're influenced by so many things. Obviously, family is a big, big part of it for me. But,
Yeah.
growing up in New York or traveling, I love to travel, and I have crazy travel journals from every trip I've been on. Like, it all, whatever it's, whether it's books you read, or,
Yeah.
and obviously now with social media, it's so much easier to
To do
get
everything. Yeah.
more inspiration. But
Yeah.
when I studied art history at Penn, and I was kind of a little bit out of a loss. And unfortunately, like a lot of kids who went to school there were very pre-professional, and everyone, like I was the only one without a job when I graduated. Or like literally all my friends had jobs, boyfriends, new apartments. I was like 0 for 3. Living at home with
Okay.
my parents,
Yeah.
no job, no
Nothing.
boyfriend.
Okay. So
Um,
you graduate Penn. So in high school you have this entrepreneurial spirit, which is sort of out of your love to create and your eye and your aesthetic and the stuff that you like to touch and do, right? Like a do it yourself. Because
right,
there's also that element. You're not just sort of, because some people are really have great eye and are terrific at celebration or design or whatever, but you also like the do it yourself aspect of it, I
right,
think. And
yeah,
then you go to Penn, which Penn is Penn, you Penn as you Penn. It's a great school, but you're right. There's a lot of people that are sort of on a specific path. I don't know that Penn is what we think of as a school for the arts. Like
right. And
that's not the Ivy for the arts.
I wanted to go to Brown.
Yeah,
I did not get
right.
in.
There you go.
And
All right.
because at Brown, you could take classes at RISD, and I just
Sure.
felt, and I decided to go to Penn and study art history, which
Yeah.
was gonna be my major. And I said, I'm gonna get a great education, and then when I graduate, I can always go to art school. I can always, but I'm gonna get, and so I still kept on doing my business. And which is why I say to everyone, and with, I know there's so much pressure with life and school and colleges, everything, but I really do feel like it all works out. And it's like,
Hmm.
I mean, for me, I'm like you look at the list of classes you pick at Brown, and then the ones at Penn, like I'm like, oh my God, like there's no like 3D design, there was no but I loved it, and I made great friends, and I loved art history, and I took a lot of classes at Wharton, a lot of marketing classes, which, and then when I graduated, I couldn't find a job that I really was even interested in doing. I didn't want to really work at a gallery. I liked art, but I don't want to work at a museum or like, and so my parents said to me, you know what? Why don't you just, instead of jumping into a job, you can keep on doing your business in a small way, and just try to, well, you figure out, get experience. And so I like reached out to everyone I knew and was like, do you need extra help? And I did everything. I did windows of Bloomingdale's. I worked for a corporate chef, like at an investment bank 2 days a week. I did worked at Art and Auction magazine 2 days a week. And I mean, trust me, I was working longer hours than anyone, because I would do anything. At some
Yeah.
point, I worked for Robert Isabel, who is like a big,
Oh, Robert Isabel did my sister's
no,
wedding.
I know, but for those who do
Yes.
not know Robert Isabel, he was
Oh, he
the
was.
icon, the
Yeah.
most talented, and the most, and so I said, I'm happy to do anything. And like there was one night we were doing a dinner at the Waldorf, and I think my job was just take the votive candles out of the boxes, and then 4 hours later at the end of the night put them back in boxes. But I was like, I love to be part of this, like seeing it come together. And and I always say to my kids, and I find it, hopefully today people still have that feeling of willing to do anything,
Oh
because
gosh, it's a
it's
phenomenal
a little
lesson.
bit of a harder to find, because I think, I don't know, for whatever reason, there is this balance of, yes, you need to care about your quality of life and need to be doing things that are rewarding, all that. But like, there's just, and I still do that. Like people say to me, like, oh, well, send your person. I was like, hi,
a
I'm
person. I'm
the
the
person.
person. No, I know. You're preaching
Um,
to the choir. Listen, I agree with
you know,
there is a need to, yes, if you want to, if you want to do whatever's the thing that you want to
right,
do, then you got to find all the avenues to do
right,
it. If you can't,
right,
if you don't have one
right,
place that you can really spend all your
right.
efforts getting
And
it
I guess
done. So it like makes
my
sense to
right,
me.
and my
Yeah.
struggle was I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I know I want to do something creative and something
Yes.
entrepreneurial. And then
Yes.
finally, like whatever, 6 months after having had 100 million jobs, I saw this posting for Martha Stewart for a position, and
Yeah.
this was in 1991. So it was people didn't know Martha the way they knew. And I actually had an interview to be Anna Wintour's assistant and to be
Wow.
assistant at Martha Stewart. And the truth is that like when I saw the Martha Stewart magazine, I was like, oh my God, I could dye Easter eggs. That's so fun. Like, and it was a startup. And so the thing about startups is that, you have the chance to like make your own niche and get,
Mm.
and it could have folded after 6 months, and but it didn't. And so I started there at the very beginning, and I was the assistant to Gail Towie, who's a brilliant, amazing creative force of nature. And so I learned so much from her, but there were so few people, like there was no photo editor. So I would get the film. I mean, now when I think about it, I cut them, the slides, I cut them and put them in like sleeves and put them in brown folders, like under my desk. Like, it's just like, it was such another, I ordered the sodas for the stock room. Then one day Martha was gonna like be on the Today Show. My friend had worked at Sonia Ricci. I was like, do you want me to get you a sweater? My friend works at this sweater company, and then I started to style her for TV segments or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I ended up, obviously it was hard work, but also being lucky because I got somewhere where also the people, I mean, being able to surround yourself with super talented people, like, and all the stylists, art directors, like we're one big family. And still, I mean, many of us were there for many, 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 many years, but we all share this passion for making things beautiful and making
Yeah.
things and teaching. And I mean, the conversation we still hear today when we talk about stuff. And I was just talking to Vanessa, and we're like, well, would we like the palm tree to be more of a lighter green, or do we want it to be like, but how does it stand up or should we do little
Right.
palm trees on the table?
Yeah.
But with the back, like the conversations we have are, you're talking about like, the difference between a meringue that has a kiss cut, or meringue that's round, or meringue that's a sandwich meringue. Um, so
Yeah,
anyway,
it's
that was
yeah.
amazing. And I also got lucky because we started Martha Stewart Weddings in '95. Let me
Mm-hmm.
remind you, I'm still single. At least now I wasn't living at home, but still single. At least I had a job. But and Martha said to me, we're going to make you the wedding editor. It's all the stuff you like. It's, entertaining and food and fashion and tabletop. And like the thing about the wedding industry, it touches every single business.
Yeah.
Jewelry, I mean, I could go the jewelry show, the stationery show, the,
Yeah.
you name it. And I said, that's fine, but like, could we not change my business card to like wedding editor? Like, a single 25-year-old girl does not want to be the wedding editor. And but also remember, back then the wedding industry was totally different.
Totally different.
Like it
Yeah.
was much more cookie cutter and much more so then for kind of over 25 years I got to help build that brand. And I think that
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
so it was really fun.
yeah. Well, so everything that you're taught, like when I got to, because most people, well, maybe not. I don't know. I started working at Martha's company before I started doing radio 18 years ago,
Right,
and I just remember the atmosphere there, though clearly 2005 was very different from 1995 or 1991. Totally different kind of environment. She had
right,
gone through whatever, come back. But what I will say is that thing you're talking about, like who's going to style Martha, or who's going to do this, or I'll do that, or someone else is. I just remember that everybody in that company had to almost do everything in that company. Like there was
right,
this thing that like
right,
if asked, you just had to figure it out and kind of do it.
Right.
And
And
most
not
of the,
even if asked, but you're
not
like,
even
"Oh,
that,
you
right.
need this?" You're in a room,
You
you're
do it,
like,
of
right,
course.
you
And not
know,
even not even in like, in a way, it was so collaborative and
right,
fun to watch it happen, because
right,
I was assisting my dad at the time. Like, I was a lawyer turned executive assistant turned
right,
broadcaster turned, which it perfectly all fits or whatever.
right,
But I just remember, like, from Hannah making things
right,
to to you doing whatever, like every Anthony, everybody sort of involved, to the kitchen, bringing the food to the break room so
right.
everybody could be collaborative in
Yeah,
that. Like, it seemed like each person hired was hired because they could do the job they were hired to do, but also they had that extra special sort of something
right.
that if they
Right, and
needed
the
to do
truth
the
is that
other
I
thing.
never, the
Yeah,
whole time in weddings, I almost never hired anyone who had done weddings before. It
there
was
you
like
go.
Anthony worked in a chocolate shop,
Right.
Livia was a florist, or, it
Yeah.
was, no one. And I think for me, I just look for people who were creative, passionate, obviously,
Yeah.
hard workers and good people. And I still to the today, Darcy Miller Designs, like for me, like everyone, you just want people who want to help each other and who want to, like the last line of the book says, life is short, celebrate everything. But it's true. It's like,
Yeah.
I think the hopefully we are in an era of being supportive to each other, and you spend a lot of time at work, and it shouldn't be like your work for like, and again, it was like family, and so I feel like that.
Very dysfunctional, hilarious
Right.
family. And not, and I have the greatest memories. Like, I sometimes look back on my time there, and my gosh, I look at it with such, through a lens of such love and such a
Right,
cool experience to have learned things that I would have never, that's the point. I would have never learned. Like,
right,
there was such a feeling, sort of, it was sort of like everything could be turned into a teachable moment from
right.
the top down. Like, Martha was always teaching. It was the
Yeah,
craziest. Like, you don't really understand it unless you were in that room. But I'm
right.
telling you, she would teach at every turn, whether it was that she wanted to give you some random wisdom about, I don't know what, or she
Yeah,
actually wanted to show you how to tie something or a
yeah,
color. Yeah, it was a fascinating dynamic.
yeah. And and weddings was nice because it wasn't Martha Stewart living. So like
Right.
we
You had your own. Yeah.
kind of, and it's a different industry, it's a different,
Yeah. And you
and for
grew
me, I
it,
loved it
Darcy.
because
You
it
guys
was
made it the
right,
destination, in a
right. I
sense.
mean,
Like,
like
if
in
you
the
could be in
right,
Martha Stewart
right.
wedding, you
Well,
arrived.
in the first issue, we set up 3 fake weddings in a studio with a caterer, 10, like linens, whatever. I mean, I sugared the fruit, and
Yeah.
then we were like, never again. So we're like, next issue, we are going to find real weddings, photograph them, and if we want some details, maybe we'll work with them to, and so that for me, I love to work with real people on special, like there's nothing like a wedding,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
along with, all the stress and everything that politics and everything that comes along with it, I love people, and and some of my friends, close friends, are people who I help with them with their wedding. And so, it was really fun. And one of the first issues, the bride had a green chartreuse dress. And if you went to find a wedding person anywhere, they were all white. And so I said to, I was very friendly with Kate Spade. So, and this was a
Oh, I'm
long time ago. This
sorry.
was very
Yeah.
early on in her career. And I was like, I need a bag for a wedding. And she had this bright chartreuse bag. I was like, perfect, but before then, a chartreuse, and today you're like, yeah, of course you can put any
Any
color.
color.
But I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I got married in 2001, and on May 5th, and it was right after Easter. They didn't even, I always give this example, and it's probably makes me sound pathetic, but they didn't even sell M&Ms separated by color. So I
Right.
bought the M&Ms, Easter M&Ms on sale and separated out the blues and purples. You were like, okay, you should not be telling anyone, especially something that's going to go on the internet. But like, just how people approach design and food and fashion and everything, it's been amazing. And for me, I feel lucky to work with so many talented, designers and people. Like I learn from them, like we all learn from each other.
Yeah. How perfect is that though, that you were separating out the M&Ms? That makes total sense.
Right. I mean, we
You
were
needed the
doing
colors.
crazier stuff too, but maybe I won't tell you that part. But it
What's the
was
craziest
so,
thing you did? What's the craziest thing you did for your own wedding?
I don't know. It's hard to think because I think for me everything felt so normal because I'm crazy. But it's not so much crazy. I have to say that everything was really personal. And
Sure.
like when we were first dating, Martha fixed me up with my husband, and
That's
I
right.
didn't really wasn't so interested in the beginning. And she's like, he's your husband, he's your husband. And Martha, she's right about everything. And so she's like, I know he's your husband. And I was like, no, Martha, no. And so we finally, a couple years later, ended up starting to go out. All I think I was like, oh, if I change my mind, she's gonna kill me. I was like the single blind date princess of the wedding industry. I mean, I went out with so many blind dates. I went out 3 different Alex Greenbergs, 2 different Andrew Isaac. I was like,
Amazing.
so anyway, so when we started to go out, we went to Paris, and I was like, oh, I can't tell Martha because she's gonna be like, oh, and we went to La Durée, which
Uh-huh.
wasn't in the States at the time. And so I was like, oh, these boxes are so beautiful. I was like, I want this one and this one. I said, do you want any cookies? He's like, well, which cookies do I was like, I don't even care what's in them. I want them for the boxes. He was like, what? I was like, and he was like, well, which one? I'm like, which one? I want the light blue and the light green and the light pink. I need all the palette, like
Yeah.
he should have known then what he was getting himself into. But so our wedding, our dessert buffet, like the wedding was all white, and then we did a sit down dinner and then kind of a dessert thing, and that it was all inspired by the palette of the boxes that I brought home. And sometimes, and then between the toasts and all the personal stuff, for me, the best parties are ones that when people leave, they say, it feels like you, or really,
Yes.
and that's what I always try to get people. Don't worry, you don't have to have a cake if you don't want. Like if you love pie, have pies. Or
Hi.
if you met on your first date and went for ice cream, have a crazy ice cream sundae bar. Like,
Make
and
it
so
personal. I agree. Whenever I go to these, because when you have kids and you know this, because you have these 3 adorable
yeah,
girls, they're bar and bat mitzvahs or confirmations or christenings or whatever. And I always find that the parties that are the most memorable are the ones that knew who the party was for. Like it was
right,
clear that it was
right,
that kid's party or that couple's party or
right.
that
Or it's
celebration was
right.
about, it was
And things about
specific.
things that kid loves, like
Yeah.
come through within reason. That doesn't,
Yes.
but I have, we have this business celebration expert, and when we start to work with a client, we send them this list, and they're like, well, I don't need to answer all this, and it's like, what was your favorite book? And it has
Yeah.
like a lot of, you know, what's your greatest memory as a child? Where did you go on your first date? We're never going to use all of that, but you just
Yes.
never know. And we just helped someone with their 60th, with a surprise party for her husband's 60th. And she was like, randomly, she was like, well, he also collects Dr. Seuss sculptures. And then we went back and we found this cute quote from Dr. Seuss, which is, today is my birthday and it's only me and I'm more meer than me. Or it was like so perfect, but it was so perfect for, instead of just being like, let's put his initial on. And he
Yeah.
loved it so much because, and people who know him, and, and so for me, and I like to surprise, I like layers. So I like, you know, it's never just one thing. It's like the layers of stuff. But I always say to people, like, pick the things that are important to you. If it's the food, if it's, when I think about my kids' parties, like Pippa loved purple, so I had Pippa's purple party. And she also loved dogs. We had Pippa's puppy party. That was when we were doing balloons of dogs before we got a real dog. And
I remember balloons. I remember you used to do balloons. Yes.
But that's what to me, and it all goes back to like, forget the balloons or the dessert buffet. It all goes back to like how you make people feel and and I think for me, that's why I like the Valentine, because people feel like I thought like, and also everyone's so busy, and even, you have a lot of friends, and you like wish you could see everyone all the time, but you just don't. And even though every year I'm like, I'm gonna be better about seeing my friends, I'm gonna be better about going to dinner, like life is busy. And so like for me, celebrating, and when I help clients, like I try to pull that out, because they're always like, well, who's the best in flowers now, and who's the best? And yes, we are going to get a great florist, but like I try to like flip it back on them and say, like, when people leave, like how would you want them to describe this party? And and work backwards
Right.
that way. Because and I feel like you never regret celebrating, and people do regret not celebrating. I mean, says the person who did absolutely nothing for her 50th birthday. My sister flew in.
Yeah, no, I get it. No,
She
but
flew
that's
in
a
from London.
shoemaker
She's
has
like,
no
I
shoes.
refuse to let
Yeah,
you literally do nothing. But I'm not so good about
I get
celebrating
it.
myself. But and I feel like
Yeah.
if people could
Yeah.
take one thing from this podcast, or like take one thing. I mean, hopefully you can take many ideas. Again, we have them on our social and our site and our book, but like it's to like say, hey, what, it's my college roommate's birthday. Or not even birthday. Like we have this spread in our book. It's like all the things to celebrate. You got a new job, you got fired from a job, you like, it's your half birthday. It's, and it's like, I don't know, everyone's busy. So it's like, and it doesn't have to be a big party. It's, I mean, we at Darcy Miller Designs,
Well, I
we
think
get
it's
really
about,
into each
yeah.
other's birthdays. So we always go for a good theme. And Emily, who loves birds, or Eleni, who writes, that we made pencil favors for her with these big tubes that with yellow jelly beans, so they look, and then it's always, and again, it's not even that it's like so big or elaborate, but it's thoughtful, and the importance of
Yeah.
being thoughtful in a world where everyone needs support, everyone needs love. And hopefully, I think we talk about joy a lot, and that's why I don't like to think of our brand as necessarily a party planner. I mean, we do help people celebrate, but I like
No, you're a celebration expert,
I
but I
like the
think
word
also, Darcy,
celebrate more than
yeah,
party, because I feel
yeah.
like celebrate has a spirit and a happiness to it. And party is just a party.
I think that what you do is sort of, it's like life affirming. I think that's why you could celebrate every event, because it's about celebrating life. Like the fact
Right.
that we're here, especially now, is something to kind of revel in as often as we can take the beats to do that, to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And celebrating kind of puts the focus on the moment.
Yeah.
So like what's more important in a sense than that?
Yeah.
Like yeah, it's beautiful. The word, it's your stuff is like cartoon. It's like, do you know those cakes now that they have
Oh
on
yeah.
social media, the cartoon?
Yeah, I love them. That it looks
It's so
drawn.
you,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes. It's
I know.
that
Actually, it's so
the
fun. I was gonna.
black, that outline
Yeah.
behind you, even that I'm looking at. If you turn around, there's
Oh
that
yeah.
outline of a
Well.
cookie. Of that, what the
Oh
cookie
yeah.
is, that cookie. That's that feeling is so you.
Yeah.
Like I could see that somewhere and be like, oh, that's a Darcy Miller design
Right.
kind of
Right.
thing. It's because it's drawn, but it looks like a cartoon, but it's not, but it's
Right.
elegant. Like everything, like you said before, you always put elegance into it. And with celebration expert, okay, here's my question or questions. Can do you work with people? I know across the globe, so people can work with you virtually to plan anything. But do you have a way you do it so that someone who can't afford to make the giant 60th bash, they could hire you to do something on a smaller scale?
Right. I mean, well, our service business is very custom, so that is kind of the higher end of our business.
Yep.
And then the other information, which is not custom, is what we have on our Instagram or we have on our website, or,
Yep.
and so you'll see, we have downloads and, again, whether it's a advice card for a
Yeah.
baby shower, we have little onesies and, newborn advice. And like, so I want to be able to help you no
Yeah.
matter what your budget is. And,
Yeah.
and our book alone, I mean, our book
It's
is,
fabulous. I have it. It's
yeah, well,
downstairs.
like
It's fantastic.
it's
Yeah.
filled with, a resource list, a million, ideas. So it's like, take the book and have, that alone, if you're having a 60th birthday, has a
Yeah.
million ideas you can do and the sources that go along with it.
I love even just I mean, I've seen in different places you've posted either like ice cream bars or places where you had candy in these like beautiful little dishes, all different toppings or all
Yeah,
different candies. Like everything's pretty, but it's also like you want to eat it.
right. But
So it's not
that's
just
like,
precious.
right, and that's also like the inspiration. And we've done a hot cocoa bar, we've done
Yeah, that
different
one
ice cream
I
bar, and
thought
it's
looked great.
part of it's like, you know, those little glasses are from Amazon. It's more just like the idea, like, oh, I'm gonna get, or I'm gonna take the glasses that I have, but it's like multiples, lining them up, filling, and that's so easy. You could be doing a Bloody Mary bar, you could do those. So many ideas are jumping
Yeah.
off points. If you decided to have friends over for brunch tomorrow, or a yogurt, we have a yogurt bar, so your friends are coming over, just go to the grocery store, buy yogurts, buy berries, buy granola, and just line them up, just the
Decant
simple,
them,
the
put them in the
just the
same,
thoughtfulness. It's not, again,
right.
there's a gazillion ideas that we have that, like, that are jumping off points, and for me, like, that's what I love, when people like post stuff and tag us. And it's not even so much, I mean, I should say that I like it because it's helping our social media number, but I care less about that than I do about, like, oh my God, look, she helped and she's so excited to show us. And it's like, or he, like, um, however people get inspiration, and sometimes, like, people will say to me, I can't believe that you put all your sources in the book. Like, people should be paying. I was like, no, I want you to know where I got the cocktail napkins. I want you to know,
Yeah.
that Amy flying back can get this, or,
Yeah.
for your party can do this. Like, also, I like helping those businesses. So many of the businesses I work with are mom and pop businesses. And I mean, when
Yeah.
you think about the custom cookies and the custom and all these artisans, which is more of a dying breed, it's so nice to be able to connect people. Someone just said to me, my son's graduating and he loves basketball. I was like, okay, well, here's someone who can make you this. Or, did you know you can send Georgetown Cupcake any piece of art and they'll put it on a cupcake? Not just for me, they do that as a business. So she's like, oh, really? And they
What they
and
do.
like, it's just like, you want people to know about stuff, and you want, people to help make other people happy, and you want businesses to do well. And, so, I mean, I think that's the fun
Yeah.
part. And, I was on the phone with, someone the other day who's a very in the know New Yorker, and she said, tell me about your business. And I was like, well, I help you, give you the direction, give you creative advice, and then give you sources. And she was like, but it's all going to really, I mean, if you have your planner, do you really need? And I was like, it's just different. And then by the end of the
Right.
call, she said to me, oh, can I ask you a question? I need petty fours, little petty fours,
Where
like
do I get
mini
them?
cakes.
William Greenberg?
And,
Where would you send
I'm
her?
very impressed you said that. But she goes, I have an intern and she hasn't been able to find them. And so I said, okay, let's start with this. What kind of petty fours? Do you want
Petty
them
fours.
colors? Do you want them do you want them round? Do you want them to be
Yeah.
able to be shippable? Do you want, I was like, well, if you want to spend more, this person does custom. If not, you can get them, from this grocery store, and you can buy sugar flowers just from New York Cake and Bake. Or you could just, like her head was spinning when we got off. And she's like, no, okay, now I understand why you do what you do. You know what
Oh
I
my
mean?
God.
Like,
Well, because by the way, so I mean, you and my sister-in-law are know each other forever and went to college together. We're college friends and beyond, of course. So you know my family, because for a lot of years, many, 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 many years. And so my mother used to, so I know what you're talking about is exactly right. Because when my mother would just want cake, Darcy, it
Right,
would be from whichever made the best chocolate cake,
right,
whichever bakery. That's where she got the chocolate cake.
right,
Or if she wanted black and white cookies, well, that was Greenberg's because that's where you go for the black and white
right,
cookie. But if you
right,
want them pink and white, you still go to Greenberg's because they'll make the pink and white. Like she
correct,
would go to every specific, they didn't really have macaron like the way it
right,
is now on every corner in
right,
Laterace here. But that's where she would go. She would go from place to
right,
place to place. And so you sort of are explaining to people the importance of the detail. If you're going to
right,
be doing something like this, making a
right,
beautiful celebration, then
right,
you have to pay attention to the detail because what good is it if the whole party is pink and purple and then you
right.
only find petty fours in orange?
Right,
It's not going to work.
or if it turns out you're going camping and you can't bring the black and white cookies because you're gonna be there for long, you can't, like,
Yeah,
get frosting in 2 colors, take a cake and
correct.
just frost it
Make
so it
it
looks like a big black and white cookie.
love,
Like,
love.
there's always a way to figure it out.
Yes,
Um,
yes. There's
and
nothing better. By the way, a black and white cookie cake is strong.
oh, yeah,
It's a
exactly.
goodie.
What we did last year and when we did a New York week and we did a taste test of black and white cookies in our office,
And
and let's
who
just say it
won?
was a dangerous day. I mean, they're all different. As I say, they're all different. It's not like good or bad. It's like, do
Who
you
was
like
the win? Who
cucumber?
did
Do
you
you like
like
it
the
soft?
best?
I
Okay.
mean, I can,
Not too lemony, not too almond. I
right,
like a real black and white cookie. I
right,
like the vanilla better. I like the whites better. I
right,
like a white and pink, a white and
right.
blue,
And
a
I
white,
like
whatever.
them a little soft. Some
A
of them
little
are
soft.
harder.
For
But
sure.
these are the conversations that literally we have in our, like, I mean, we started because it's my dad's birthday, and so I was thinking about doing
Aw.
something, and I was like,
Aw.
well, it's Palm Beach. Do I go pink, and do I go with all pink champagne and pink, you know? But I was like, do I go the vodka route? But I do it, but I put cherry blossoms in because it's, like April, and so. But again, part of that is, and for me, I feel lucky because I feel like I enjoy what I do.
You
Not to
love what you
say
do.
it's
Yeah.
not to say there's always struggles of a building a business, and we're in the
You
process of
paid your
hiring. It's in,
Darcy,
I
you
mean,
paid your dues also. I
no, but
mean,
like we're in the process of hiring, and I feel so passionately about finding other passionate people who,
mhm.
like, who want to really build a brand. And it's really, it's a struggle. You meet people and they say, yeah, but I live in California. I'm like, no, I need you to live here. Like it's
Right.
like, it's always not. And I would say the other thing, as we all know about social media, is that it looks like every day is a party. It is not a party every day.
No, 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 no. You work
There's
incredibly
always
hard.
the FedExes who don't come. There's always,
Yes.
but it's like, but all in all, I feel like lucky because I feel like and this is kind of where we started, but one day my art teacher from high school came to my studio and looked around and he said, you know what? You're doing the same thing you did in 7th grade. You're just now doing it, and getting paid for it, and I do feel lucky that I was able to find a career that allows me, to do what I love, and interact with so many talented people and learn from so many people and still have it be kind of a job.
Right, right. And this expansion, this celebration expert and helping people create these sort of one of a kind
Right,
celebrations and these
right,
moments, I think is a natural kind of progression for you, a natural evolution for you from when you started out. And as I was
right,
saying before, like you paid your dues in the sense that you had a very high stress job for many, many years. I mean, Martha Stewart weddings was no joke. Any of the stuff under sort of the flagship of
right.
Martha under that umbrella was intense, incredibly talented people, but that wasn't. There was not a soft aspect of that gig on any level. So you put in. I
Well,
mean,
the
you put in
funny
that
thing is,
kind of.
when
You
I
know.
think about, because again, so much my whole working life, it was like my one
Yeah.
job that, for years and years and years. But like I look at back, when people, if I was doing a test and they said one word, okay, school, job, Martha Stewart,
Yeah.
I would say fun. Like like and
There was a
again,
lot of
trust
fun.
me, there was lots of stress that went along with it. But for me, the stress was more in how are we going to get it all done? And the wedding's this weekend, now it's
Yes.
supposed to rain. Like the stress wasn't in, and it's so hard. I feel like, you talk to so many people are like, I hate my job. I like, so it's
No,
like
no,
that's
no.
the
I
big thing
don't
in
get me
life.
wrong.
I will
I know it was.
no, no, no. I'm
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
no, no, no. I'm not saying me. I'm just saying there are so many people who it's hard work a job as work to make money or like, and I feel so lucky to have found like in my career,
What
like
you
work
wanted to
that
do. Yes. I was just saying that even with
I
doing
mean,
what you
don't get me
love,
wrong,
it was
vacation is
work.
important too.
Yes, but you still had, because again, I know it was fun, and because I was there, I saw it. I saw all of you. I saw all the people in Starrett Lehigh.
Yeah, we had
But
more fun than anyone. Martha weddings.
that was it. That was like the best
You
place to
know,
be in the whole thing.
yeah,
But
exactly.
no, it was
I
like
like to think that we were the place to be.
it was yeah, no, I mean it was everything was
No, it's an
always
incredible.
lovely. And yeah, but it was a lot of
Right.
you guys all worked really hard is my point. Like there were
Yeah.
nobody was cutting sort of nobody was cheating the
There was no
system.
cutting corners.
You couldn't
Right.
because the
Right.
output and what you guys were
Right.
doing really mattered. And because that's what it was. It was the aesthetic. It was the production value. It was how it would look on the page. It was everything.
Right.
And you guys did a beautiful job.
Right.
It was definitely stressful. I mean, it's stressful, but it's the kind of stress you can manage because you loved what you were doing. And I think that's what it
Right.
is. It's like it's
Right.
still work, but you're happy to be
Yeah.
doing that kind of work.
Right. And it is true. I mean, it's definitely stressful. And I think in a positive
Yeah.
way in the world today that
Yeah.
there is more of an emphasis on balance. And I think that now like the world is figuring out what work means this kind of in this new era of remote, half remote, full remote,
Yeah.
and so and for me, I really love the people part of it and the collaboration. And
And
so,
you did not find
it-
balance. There's just no way. I am not buying that you have balance. I refuse. I just
oh,
don't believe it.
no, I said there's more focus on it. I didn't say that I was balanced. No,
Yeah,
but I
I'm not
will say
balanced.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
but I will say that I just went on vacation and I
Good.
literally like I'm so stressed this week because I have so many emails and like I really try to not look. I have one or two clients that we were dealing with that I talked to, but basically I was like, you know what? I'm just not going to worry about anything to get back that money. And now, of course, I'm paying for it. But I do think, listen, it's hard. Anyone who says I have it easy, well, maybe they're a better person than I am. But like the juggle always of
Oh
time
yeah.
for yourself, time for your
Everything.
kids, time for your friends, time for your,
Yes.
it's always a juggle,
Yeah.
and but I'll
Yeah.
tell you one thing that if someone said, could you rewind if you could do it? And like I'm like so sentimental that one daughter just went to college and one's a junior. I'm
Oh,
like, oh no. But if someone said, okay, you can rewind and stay home with them and have so much more time with them, I would rewind and do the same exact thing. Like I think that
amazing.
it's,
Yeah.
important, especially as a woman and I think for when we started talking about my daughter Ella and her tie-dye for a good cause, but when I see that she found a way to take something creative, and it's not even like she loves art or she was a tie-dyer, but for her, she was like, I need a project and what can she had, kind of found this organization during her bat mitzvah, and then she was like, oh, it's, they really help kids and so for me, I feel like, that's that brings me joy that,
Nice.
that I see
Yeah.
my kids doing things for other people and using creativity to kind of make the world a better place.
Darcy Miller, you guys, you can find her at darcymillerdesigns.com. And of course, you can get her book Celebrate Everything and follow her on social media. Is your specific social Darcy Miller or Darcy Miller Designs?
Darcy Miller. Our
Okay.
Instagram is Darcy Miller.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought. All right. And if you have a celebration that you're planning, you can look up Darcy and talk to her, have a consultation, see if maybe you guys want to work together. Because I can tell you that it will be the most beautiful celebration. you ever have. If you go the Darcy
Right.
Miller route. Thank you for being on my podcast.
Thank you, and thank you. I just want to thank you right back at you, and what an inspiration you are. And I love your podcast, and I'm always, it's so great,
Thank
great,
you.
great, and great that you're in a place of doing something that's so great and so you and such a success.
Thank you. I'm at Just Jenny Hutt on Instagram, at Jenny Hutt on TikTok and Twitter. And any questions or comments, you can email justjennypod@gmail.com. Thank you again for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Next time you're coming to the studio in person.
Yes, I got to get there. I got to
Okay.
get there. All right. Thank you, Darcy.
Okay, thank you.